Oh my goodness. Should have looked at myself in the mirror before I turned that on. All right, Beth's already here and Homestead Nana. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, we are going to talk about some things that we do to save money, especially on things that seem to be really affected by the inflation as of late, and hopefully give you some encouragement and some ideas of things that you can do in your home as well to hopefully help beat the inflation a bit and get your living expenses back down. So Sam is here as well. He's making his decaf as usual. We are nothing if we are not creatures of habit. I apparently need to buy an iron and fix my collar, but you're just gonna have to look at my wonky collar the whole time we're doing this. So, yeah. So it's been good. It's been a good day. Hello, Pete. Thanks for joining us. Glad you could make it today. And Grammy is here. By the way, it was Sam's birthday. He's now 30 years old, and Sam's yelling from the kitchen. Grammy, thank you for the birthday card and gift. So.
Yes. Thank you for the card and the gift.
The gift.
Grammy.
Yes, thank you, Grammy. So, Sam is another year older. How's your body feeling? Are you falling apart yet?
I'm getting there.
He's getting there. He's getting there. So, all is going pretty well, though. It's been a good week. It's been a much better week than last week. Last week, I was under the weather at the beginning of the week and didn't get any of my organizing or planning done for the week and was just playing it by ear all week, which is not a good idea when you're homeschooling and taking care of a lot of little children. So. Pete says, enjoy your 30s. They are the best. There you go.
All right. Straight from Pete.
Straight from Pete. All right. Grammy says you're welcome. And Tara is here. Thanks for joining us, Tara. And Carrie is here as well. Thanks for stopping by.
My 30s are almost done.
Yeah, unfortunately his 30s are rounding the corner to 40. He's still got a little bit of time left. So 30 is definitely, it's been fun. It's been, I don't know, a decade of kind of accepting where you're at, I feel like, and then accepting the reality. We're making some changes, but accepting the realities of how life is going to be, I guess. All right, let's get started. I'm excited. So, tonight, I'm gonna show you a whole bunch of stuff. I got a bunch of videos linked below. I probably forgot some that I'll add later if there's one that I mentioned that's not linked below. There's also a bunch of things that I'm going to show you. Some of them are Amazon products. Some of them are things that you already have in your home, but you probably don't realize that it's multi-purpose. Things like that. So I try to put as many links below for things that you can find them. So Anne says, just got here on time after picking yellow wax beans. All right. I have never grown wax beans, though I do enjoy wax beans in a 3-bean salad. So maybe I should grow some wax beans. And Allison is, hello from Roanoke. Set my phone alarm so I didn't miss. Well, thank you for joining us. And I know we confused everybody because we said that we wouldn't do one this week because Sam was supposed to have a rotation at the psych hospital for his nursing school, but his teacher, his proctor, whatever you call him, they had to change the date. So he's home today. So we thought we would do a live stream. So Pete says that beeswrap is made just south of us in Middlebury, Vermont. Beeswrap is on my list, so let's just start with that. Can you grab a piece? I forgot. Yeah. If you don't know what beeswrap is, it's like an alternative to saran wrap and Ziploc bags. It's a way to cover things that you're putting in the fridge or on the counter that you want to, keep bugs and air out of, and also to wrap things up that go in lunch boxes. So here's a small one. It's just a piece of cotton fabric, usually with a cute print, and it's got beeswax that has been brushed onto it to give it a waxy coating, and it gets sticky just because beeswax has a very low melting point. So just the heat from your hand makes it melt and makes it sticky, so that if you were to stick it on something, let's see if I can stick it on this, it actually like conforms, you see that, and it sticks, so you can make a pretty tight seal. I love these. But this is a great product for getting rid of a lot of your one-time use disposable things like saran wrap, foil, plastic wrap, especially with packing lunches. And to clean these, you just wipe them off. You don't really have to scrub them, or they can't go through the washing machine. You just wipe them off.
It's really cheap to make too, so if they get too dirty and nasty.
Right. And so we actually made some in this video. I didn't link below. I'll go back and add it later. We made a vegan beeswax, and we only did that because beeswax is kind of expensive, and to get really good quality beeswax, it's hard to find unless you have a local connection. So we made it with soy wax, which was pretty cheap, and it worked really well. I use them all the time. I mean, covering leftovers, packing lunch boxes. The only thing you just have to do, especially with kids, is you got to make sure they don't throw them away. But since, you know, if the kids have their lunch boxes, because we're all going to town together, so I'm right there to be like, don't throw it in the trash can. I'm not sending them to school.
I like them because they're like more substantial than like a.
It won't fold over on you like the stupid cling wrap. Like you put it on the thing and it stays.
I like it.
We got a whole bunch. Pete says we pick up the cutoffs for fire starters, and you mean the cloth from the beeswrap? So I think that's what he's talking about. And I've seen Homestead Tessie make those. Yes, there's lots of channels that have videos. You can make them with really any kind of wax. Beeswax is the best because it has that really low melting point. So you can really get it to stick to whatever container you're trying, or to itself if you're wrapping up like a tuna fish sandwich.
Hello, Tracy and Debbie. I'm going to.
You're going to move this closer?
I'm going to slide this down just a little bit. There we go.
So that's a great way to get rid of some of that stuff. And that's not just about sustainability, but you know, if you think about it, if you can, in your kitchen, if you can get rid of your saran wrap, if you can get rid of your tin foil, and you know, other of those, or Ziploc baggies, those one-time use, you know, usually plastic or foil products that you buy for the convenience, especially for storing things, you really do save an incredible amount of money. And I will save that from experience. Allison says, just yesterday I ordered some bowl covers that are fabric with elastic and washable. Yes, those are great too. It's almost like can't think of the word, a shower cap, but they go over your bowls. Those are another great option. It's a little bit more expensive up front, right? But you make that purchase one time. I've had my bees wrap for 2 years and I've never had to replace any of it, and I use it, you know, all the time. So it really is, it's a little bit of an investment, but you know, after that first month or two, it's just money back in your pocket. It's those disposable items that you're not throwing away. Because I feel like with the inflation, it's, at least in my area, and you can tell me this isn't true in your area, where we're really seeing it right now, it's a little bit in the food, but it's a lot of it in those household products, like the paper towels or the paper plates or the toilet paper. Like I went to go buy toilet paper the other day, and I'm about ready to get like Sharpie pens and mark how many squares people are allowed to use, because I spent like $20 on toilet paper and the girls went through it in a week, and I was like we can't spend $100 a month on toilet paper. Like that's ridiculous. But the prices have gone up. So
Pete says the company puts out all the cutoff scrap for folks to take for starting their stoves. Amazing.
that is amazing.
Whatever, I'm all for trying to find fire starters, so that's nice. We have, at least for helping to start, it's not like kindling, but helping to start fires, we have a few family members that collect newspaper for us.
Great grandma is our newspaper source.
And so she saves it up for the year, and then we get a few deliveries of it. It's really nice to help start fires. Hello, Pam. We missed you, yes. JB and Cediella. I probably mispronounced your name, but thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. And Allison says, yes, it's like a shower cap, great for raising bread. Yes, and I made a proving bag. I bought bread, and it was a double loaf of bread, so it comes like with the 2 loaves of bread in their plastic bag and then a bigger plastic bag, and that has been the perfect size. I use it all the time now when I raise bread, that double loaf plastic cover as a proofing cover. Proofing, you can buy proofing bags, but they're expensive and they're meant to be one-time use. I just reuse that loaf bag all the time. Tracy says I make wheat meat, so I need the parchment paper and the foil. I'm wondering how this would work in preparation of this seitan. Is that how you say it? Is that right?
No idea.
I'm not sure. I do still buy. I still buy foil for just a few things, and it's really just for certain things that I cook in the oven, for pans that I do not have a cover for, because I have a couple pans that are weird sizes, like that weird broiler pan I use all the time. I don't have a cover for it, and some things you cook, you have to have a cover. You know, obviously I can't put bees wrap in the oven, so I still buy foil for that purpose, but I do reuse my foil. You know, those Great Depression things, grandma washing off the foil, that's me. I'm gonna use it until it rips. So
Hello, Karen and Elaine from Ontario.
welcome. Okay, while we're talking
it's
about,
nice and cool up in Ontario now.
I don't know. We were surprised this summer. Some of our Canadian viewers, remember that? They were telling us
That's
it was
true.
still like 90 degrees. So,
Tracy says she reuses hers too.
yep. You
Might as well.
keep going until it rips or it's so like sticky that you can't wash it off. You just save it. So, let's talk about some more one-time use kitchen products though while we're there. Some things. So, one of the things that we stopped buying, we haven't bought in a couple of years, are sponges.
Like scrubbing pads.
Yeah, and we don't have a dishwasher. We do all the dishes by hand. So we now use these.
We used to use the Dobie, like the yellow sponges with the scrub sponges.
This is a netted dishcloth. It's got like a scrunchier side and a softer side. And Sam, who is the dishwashing expert / connoisseur of sponges, he wasn't sure at first.
It's true.
He did not really, he wasn't into it. He likes his sponge that he likes, but he really liked these.
Yeah, they're awesome. The scrubber side is like what is that? I don't even know how to describe it.
It feels like the bumpy side of Velcro, the harder side of Velcro.
Kinda, yeah. It scrubs really well though, and when they're nasty, all you gotta do is wash them, and they've lasted a long time. They work great. I really like them.
Yes, and Pam said sponges get to stinking fast.
Oh, that's true.
Yes,
too.
and so we looked at reusable sponges, but the way that you keep a reusable sponge fresh is you put it through your dishwasher. Well, if I had a dishwasher, I probably wouldn't need a reusable sponge. So this is great because once we use it for a couple days and then it goes in the wash with our other cleaning rags. And the package came with like 10 or 12, and I haven't even used all the ones in the package. We have like 6 in rotation, and I've had them almost 2 years, and I've never thrown one away either. So this was definitely, I think the package cost me like $8 or $10, and it was definitely a really good investment.
That's been like one of the best as far as reusable things.
The best.
Like it's used every single day,
and it stayed together.
And it does a good job. It's not one of those things where it's like, yeah, we kind of make it work. It does a good job.
So Grammy says dryer lint or Vaseline on cotton balls from vitamin bottles for fire starters.
That would work really well.
I know a lot of people take like the toilet paper tubes, right, and they stuff the dryer lint in there and use that as their fire starter.
Yep. Yeah, those would work great.
So we haven't had a dryer the majority of the time we've been here, but we got one this year, so I can save lint for you now if you want to.
Tracy says you can use flannel as a no-waste teepee. Have you ever heard of it?
Yes,
we have some.
And I have some. We have a whole bunch. And here's the deal with we call it family cloth. Okay, so I use old receiving blankets and I just sew them I take 2 pieces and I sew them together in a square, kind of like making a pillow, but you're not going to stuff it. And I use the old receiving blankets. You can really use any flannels, right?
Flannel's good because
it's soft.
Camouflages a little
Yeah,
bit
it
too.
camouflages. Patterns are good. The reason that we don't use it 100% is because we've had one too many little person flush it down the potty, and
It happens a lot.
the expense of fixing the potty is much more than the expense of just having the little kids use toilet paper. But now I'm not so sure because they're running through so much toilet paper. So the family cloth.
We've used it exclusively.
Yeah.
Before,
So
previously.
now we have the family cloth. Basically, Sam and I use it, and the girls use toilet paper. But they are not very good at moderating their. I'm pretty sure they just like take a roll and just like go like that and take like 60 sheets at a time. So, but family cloth is a great way to reduce. I mean, you can use it 100%, and I know some people are kind of grossed out, but toilet paper is historically a pretty new thing.
It works well. It might be a little slightly different once everyone gets older, but you still have diapers. The cloth diapers that you're changing, and so we have a pail next to the toilet, and so the family cloth just goes in the pail with the diapers. So it's not extra work or anything like that for you because you're already doing it.
I'm already doing it. Yeah, and I mean you could have a pail next to your toilet and you could put 100 in there before you washed them if you wanted to make that many. And anyways, see, some people are grossed out, but hot water and UV rays, I mean, that's how they sanitize water that goes through the sewer system. So it's an amazing antimicrobial.
This is a white cloth that's been used for that. So you can see how clean it looks and white.
Right.
And it's not been bleached.
Nope, don't bleach them or anything. Just the good old sunshine. But it could save you a considerable amount of money, especially if you have older kids or no kids at home and you don't have to worry about people accidentally flushing them. Because instead of admitting their mistake and being like, I accidentally dropped it in the potty, they'll try to flush it, you know, to make it go away. Get rid of the evidence. You're like, no, that's like the worst choice.
But you can be sure your sins will find you out.
Yes, they do.
The toilet clogs then.
And there's only one toilet in our house, so we've had some sketchy moments. I don't know if sketchy is the right word. Yeah. Intense moments where we needed the toilet unclogged.
Karen says, I cut my sponges in half. I did buy the chain link scrubber you showed before. Yes, that works really well for your cast iron. That chain link scrubber is great.
Pam says, do you wipe poo with family cloths? Yes, you do. And these family cloths, I also use them as cloth diaper, like cloth wipes for the baby. I mean, it's all the same. It all goes in the same barrel. It gets washed.
Some people might just use them for going number one, but you can use them for number two as well. You just, when you wash, you do a rinse cycle first, so everything gets rinsed and flushed away, and then you do a wash with hot water and soap, and then set it outside to dry. Debbie says, will people use magazines in the day? Yep, in an outhouse and think of in outhouses and think of gross. Yep, and didn't think it was gross. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad for improvements in hygiene over the years, but some things are kind of new and they're not necessarily necessary, even though they're convenient. And I think one of the things that when it comes to beating inflation, I think the number one thing that we can do is look at our lifestyle and be willing to make changes. Because I think the problem we get into is people just look at price increases and things, they get really stressed. It is stressful. But then they don't look and say, okay, how can I live my life differently that I'm not affected by all of these increases? And it's inconvenient to change things, but you know, there's only so much money to go around. So sometimes you have to make those hard choices. And I would say too, like we've said a lot of this before with some of these things, or some, you know, we've done quite a few Depression era live streams and such. But what we've said before is you don't feel like you have to make 100 changes at once and you have to do it. Like, try things out as you go and do cheap things, and some things you'll change and be like, oh, I can totally do this, and it you know, it'll save you a few bucks. And other things you'll try and you'll be like, that's a big hassle, or I just don't like that. And so and you can go back to, you know, the other way, your normal way. But you can kind of pick and choose. Don't feel overwhelmed or feel like you got to cut 100 things out and make this huge change. Sometimes that can be hard. If you want to, like, go for it. But I think sometimes people watch YouTube videos or see things like that, and they're like, oh man, we gotta like totally change everything. And sometimes you can, but you can do it slowly and like kind of piece by piece. Figure out what works for you and your family and your lifestyle. Pete says, family cloth wouldn't clog the outhouse, Sam Westville.
Exactly.
Very true. And we got some smiles and some thumbs up. Mary made it. Thanks for joining us, Mary. Oh, flannel sheets. Yeah, anything that's flannel, it's just it's nice and soft, and it's absorbent. That's what you want. Hello, True Joy. And Debbie, lots of people don't want to make changes. It's hard. And I don't like... Lifestyle changes are the hardest. Because you run your life, and you get used to the things that you like. Habits. And it's hard to change those things, you know, and I don't think people are bad or lazy, but it is genuinely hard to make changes. Takes a lot of motivation. And so I guess maybe we just want to encourage you, or like Sam said, like small changes can make a big difference, and they tend to snowball, because once you're successful in one small change, you're like, oh, that wasn't terrible, but it's another small change I can make, and then you kind of head down the right path. It doesn't have to be 100% tomorrow. Let's see. Becky says, hello from Louisiana, just popping in. You guys are my absolute faves. Thank you. Thank you, Beck. Thanks for joining us. Pam says, I can make a penny squeal. I have to be as cheap as I can. That's a good saying. I'm going to steal that one, Pam. Debbie says, I've seen pantries on YouTube, and the stuff these people have, not much. And, you know, that's one of the things that we'll talk about in just a minute about pantries and the modern pantry. And I think that's one of the reasons inflation hurts so much, because in the good times, we're not preparing for the bad times, because there will always be bad times, there will always be good times, and it's not being pessimistic, it's just being realistic to say, what can I do now when things are going really good to invest for when things are not so awesome? So Karen says, have you done a video on how you make your family cloths? Yes, I have, and it is linked in the description. It might be called
baby wipes, not family cloth, is exactly the same. I use the same ones for both. So if you click on that baby wipes one, that's our family cloth, how I sewed them.
The girls like to help make these because
yeah.
I mean it's for your bum, and so it doesn't have to be like pretty or symmetrical or
That's how-
perfect. And it's a good practice for the girls, or even Pat when he gets a little bit older, to help.
That's how
with
Micah learned how
sewing.
to sew. She did the squares
Yeah,
for me.
it's just
so.
a simple little square.
Let's see. Tara says, I need to do better with one-time use stuff, especially paper towels and foil. Yes, and it's hard because, like I said, it's a lifestyle change. And when you go from one-time use to reusable, usually there's more work on the other end. You save money, but that's because you're doing the extra. And so it's trying to figure out those new systems.
But we kind of noticed that there for a while. We were trying to do kind of off-grid stuff, pretty hardcore. But if you want to go like all the way off grid and stuff, it is a time issue. I mean, it's a convenience issue as well.
Everything just takes an extra 10 minutes, but it's everything you do every day. And then you just spend all day working and you don't like get anything extra done, especially inside the house.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's tough when you try and do some of that stuff. A lot of it takes extra time, and like Laura said, if it's just a few things and it's 5 or 10 minutes here or there, you're like, it's not that big of a deal. If it's your whole lifestyle, that adds up for all day. So
we can just finish with the one-time use products. This is a hack, not a product, but one thing that I do, and I kind of mentioned this before, I don't buy Ziploc bags or sandwich bags. Sometimes you do need plastic though, because plastic is an amazing freezer burn preventative, and that's why Ziploc bags, one of the reasons they're so awesome, but I don't want to buy them because they're expensive. So now when I make my freezer stuff, like I just did a huge breakfast freezer meal like prep thing today, but I use old bread loaf bags or tortillas, or there's other products that you buy. A lot of them are breads though that come in just plastic bags, and I'll just fill them up with what needs freeze and then squeeze the air out and tie it closed, and it literally costs me 0 cents, but I have the protection of the plastic against the freezer burn in the freezer. And I mean, it's just this plastic, you're already buying it. Like I would, it'd be awesome to make all my sandwich bread, but there's only so many hours in the day, and so I buy sandwich bread for the girls' peanut butter and jelly and end up with a lot of bags, and don't throw them away because this can save me money later.
you also
Promise
use
I'm not
them
a hoarder, by the
you also
way.
use them for lunch and things
Yep,
like that.
and
to
when I
wrap
pack
things
girls,
up.
if I pack lunch boxes, sometimes I'll use these instead of the bees wrap if I have a lot of them for their sandwiches or their chips. Just they're handy little containers. And then the last kitchen one I have here is the Ziploc reusable silicone bags, and this one unfortunately I stained it really bad because I put like beets or something, like mulberries in here. That's what it was. Cannot get the color off. Promise it's clean. But these are just great because sometimes you really do need the Ziploc where you can squeeze every ounce of air out. And so I have a couple sets of these, and they've lasted me several years.
They're so thick.
I've been really impressed because they go from the freezer to the fridge to the counter, and they don't crack or break. They're easy to wash. It's great, and they do seal really, really tight. It does take a little bit of finger dexterity, so if you have arthritis or something, these might be a little hard for you to seal. I will tell you that compared to Ziploc, but they're great, and I highly recommend them. And this is the only one I have right now that is not in use. That's how much I use them, so they're all in the freezer.
Let's see. Debbie says, to survive, you have to change some of the stuff you do. That can be true. Tracy says, I agree with you. It's a lot of work. It's like that for me as I'm trying to do all my food prep. Everything from scratch takes all day, every day.
It does.
Very true.
It does. And Debbie says, I have a generator you plug in our house if power goes out. I have lots of food for survival, like beans and rice and noodles and canned stuff. Yes. Preparation is really important, and even if it's not an end of the world scenario, like you never know when a winter storm's going to come, knock your power out for 2 days, and you'll lose everything that's in a fridge or a freezer if you aren't prepared for that eventuality. Or you could get snowed in for a week. Do you have enough food if you got snowed in? Or if there was flooding and suddenly your water from your tap isn't safe to drink. I mean, these aren't disaster scenarios. These are real life scenarios that could affect anybody. And so that's one thing we're really passionate, just like in real life, even if the next 100 years of life goes amazing. Like, you should always be prepared for those types of things, just because you never know what regular life will throw at you.
Let's see. Pam says, if being frugal means you're a hoarder, by all means use that title. I do.
Yeah.
And Tara says, I've been meaning to get the reusable Ziplocs. I use a lot to split up my meat and freeze it. Do they freeze and thaw well?
They do. They don't crack at all. The zippers don't break. The only thing I will say is when you stick it in the freezer and you take it out, sometimes the zippers will freeze shut. And so what I'll do is I'll just put like a little bit of hot water on a rag and I'll just wipe it across the zipper so that it'll open for me. That'd be my one big negative, but I use them over and over and over again and don't have any problems with them
We've had
freezing.
those for a while.
We've had them
too.
most of these reusable products we've had about 2 years
And
now.
they don't rip or anything like that. Like, it's pretty thick plastic
Yep.
or whatever it's made out of.
And Becky says, what brand are those bags? These are Forid, F-O-R-I-D. They are not my favorite. The sizing is a little weird, I feel like, and the zippers, like I said, are hard. I think the link I have in the description are for ones. The brand is Umis, and I really like those. The zippers are easy to use, and they're like comparable sizes to the bags you would buy at the store. So yeah, there's several brands. I will say most of them are made in China. I don't know that I found a brand that's made in the United States, but when there aren't options, like, I'll take the best I can get for those. So Debbie says, I use empty milk jugs for water to flush toilets because we have other water in bottles Bruce takes to work. Oh yes, so if you needed water, yeah, and storing water. Storing water is hard because it takes a lot of space, but it's also important. I mean, you don't necessarily have to go crazy, especially if you don't have a lot of space, but I think always having several gallons of just water stored somewhere, it's really a smart thing to do because you just never know, right?
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Let's see.
What else we got?
We can talk about cleaning stuff. So cleaning stuff is a place where I think a lot of money can get sucked away really fast, and especially now with the inflation being high, like, the prices on some of these things are going up, and a lot of them we don't necessarily need or can be pretty easily replaced at home. So one of my favorites here is, there's a link below, but we make our own foaming hand soap. So the caps here, I think, were $10 for a set on Amazon, the pumps. So if you want foaming soap, you have to buy the foaming pumps. They're a little bit more expensive. And then the soap is just water, and then I buy a bar of Castile soap from the store and I shred it. And 1 bar of Castile soap will get me something like 7 quarts of foaming hand soap. So it goes really far. So that, like, $1, it's like $1 for a bar of Castile soap still, will get me 7 quarts worth of soap. And foaming soap at the store, even if you bought it at the dollar store, it's $1 for like a pint's worth of soap. So this is a pretty big money saver, especially if you have a larger family. You're going through a lot of soap really fast, and it's nice because it doesn't have any weird like scents or things in it if you have sensitive skin. And I mean, Sam doesn't really like walking around smelling like petunias all day either, so it's just soap that just cleans you. So that's pretty
you could use
pretty
scented
easy. You
soap
could, yes,
if you wanted
you
to.
I think my mother-in-law adds essential oils. Just go gentle, because a little bit goes a long way when it comes to essential oils. And then I really like the convenience of a Swiffer when I wash. I feel like old school mops just push dirt and grime around on your floor. Maybe I use them wrong, but I feel like the Swiffer mops actually like pick it up and make my floor seem clean. But the pads and the soap are pretty expensive, right? And they're even more expensive now. So what I do is I have my Swiffer soap and I actually refill it. They make these jars so they're really hard to refill, but the glue is temperature like responding. And so if you bring some water almost to a boil and then you stick the cleaner upside down in that water for like 30 seconds, the glue starts to melt and you can actually, this cap will come unscrewed. So mine's already been loosened, so it comes unscrewed without trying now. And then you can refill it with whatever as many times you want. Some people just use like lemon peels and vinegar. You get a nice lemony smell. You could buy a cheap cleaner at the store and just it just takes a little bit of cleaner and a lot of water to make a clean floor. There's no reason to be spending $5 or $6 on a Swiffer refill, especially because if you're like me and all the floors in your house are hardwood, you go through one of these in like a week, no problem, right? So saves a ton of money just to refill it yourself. And then I also bought, so for a long time I just used rags. So we have like cleaning rags that are all different. Some of them are old diapers, some of them are face cloths, you know, cut up towels. And the bottom of a Swiffer is like Velcro-y, and they'll stick pretty good. They kind of slide around. And I just use that. But a couple years ago, I went ahead and bought some reusable microfiber-ish pads for my Swiffer, and these do a really nice job. And they stick. The material on the back makes it so they stick really well. They don't move around on my mop, which I really like. And I just throw them in with my cleaning rags when I'm done mopping the floor. And I mean, this is 2 years old, and it's a little bit stained, but I mean, it doesn't look nearly as nasty as you think it would look. So that's one way. Still kind of keep the convenience that I like with the Swiffer, but I'm not having to rebuy product all the time. The only thing I buy are batteries, and honestly, I probably should just use reusable, rechargeable batteries. Be better for the environment anyway, but haven't gotten around to that yet. So, Tara says that's great. Quit using my Swiffer mop because it's expensive. It is expensive. So this way, I get to keep what works well for me without having to spending a lot of money. So. Prep for Eternity is here. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. We're doing great. And Glenda says, I use parchment paper for things in the oven. I just fold it into a bag and place items inside of it and fold and bake. Yes, and parchment paper is pretty cheap still. So that's a one-time use product that's kind of worth its money. It's also good for separating things in the freezer as well as kind of multi-use. So, and then we have our laundry soap. Dun, dun, dun. So it's not apple juice, just so you know. This is laundry soap. This is the one anytime I talk about laundry soap, or anybody really who's on the Homestead channel, somebody always says it's not laundry detergent, it's laundry soap, it's going to ruin your washing machine. It just depends. You have to know what you have. So we make our own laundry soap. I'm doing it 10 years now?
Yeah, a long time.
I've been using the same recipe. It does a really good job. Our clothes are clean, right? Okay, and diapers are clean. I use it for diapers too. It used to cost me $20 a year. Now the price on some of the ingredients has gone up, and we also have a lot more people in our house. I would guess it's probably more like $40 a year, but still, that's immensely cheaper than going and buying laundry detergent. The difference between detergent and soap really comes down to how much water it needs to work well. So if you have a high efficiency machine that does not use a lot of water, laundry soap is not what you want. It's going to clog up your machine because your machine's not going to run enough water to rinse it out. We don't have a high efficiency machine, and I don't want one because high efficiency machines don't wash diapers. When you wash diapers, you need water. Okay, stuff's got to get flushed out and washed away. So soap is a great alternative. Laundry soap works really well for us. It doesn't clog up the machine. It doesn't stay on the clothes. Sam's only complaint is it doesn't really smell like anything. And he likes to snuggle up in his sheets to the smell of Gain. So I buy a box of like the Gain, whatever scent it is. And that's what I wash our sheets or all the sheets in so that he can have that smell of joy or whatever. But this saves me an incredible amount of money. The recipe that we use is below. Some people make a powder. I think Off Grid with Doug and Stacy, they make something similar, but it's a powder, not a liquid. So that's, if you don't want a liquid detergent, that's something that you could kind of search their channel and see if you can find their recipe. But yeah, laundry soap is expensive. And unless you have an HE machine where you have to have the special detergent, it's really kind of like flushing a whole lot of money away.
Yeah, you've been using this for a long
time. So,
and you've got videos.
Yes, videos are linked below with the recipes. We did try to make dish soap one time from scratch, and it worked relatively well. I don't think I have that video linked below. I can go back and grab it later and put it below. It worked, and we did a test on several different items to show that it did cut grease and stuff. Problem is we noticed that on plastics that it tended to leave like a weird film, and because we have a lot of kids, we have a lot of plastic plates because the kids break everything. And so we stopped using it because we were having to buy another soap anyway to wash all the plastic But if you only have like porcelain dishes or glassware, things like that, you can check out that video because it was pretty darn cheap compared to buying the Blue Dawn, which is what we use.
Glinda says, as far as sponges, I make my own. I use onion bags as the top layer, and they work great. I just throw in the wash and dry in the line. That is a good idea.
That is a great use of something.
Allison says, silicone baking mats can completely replace parchment. I have 2 large ones, and I use them for everything. Put them right on baking sheets, used for bacon, cookies, anything.
I've been looking, just like eyeballing those mats. I don't know if anybody else uses them. I'd love to hear if you like them. They are, I mean, it's a little, everything that's one-time use is a little bit of an investment, but I think I would really like one or two. Kind of those few things I still use wax paper, parchment paper for. I feel like that would replace that. So
Iris Lady says we are allergic to Gain, so
that's so sad.
I can't use it. Bummer.
And I know all those smells, they're all chemicals, they're probably not that good for you, but you have to have a little bit of joy in your life, right?
That's true. Tara says, I just bought washer sheets, and so far I like them. They were expensive, but if I like them, I can subscribe and get a substantial discount. We have a high efficiency.
And those are really neat. I've seen those. So if you're not familiar with them, instead of like a liquid or a powder detergent, it looks almost like a dryer sheet. And so it's really low waste. There's no plastic, there's no shipping water, because you know, laundry detergent's mostly water. You're not shipping that around the country. And so that's a great sustainability option. I don't know, Tara would have to let me know if in the long run, if it saves you money, you know, maybe the initial purchase is more, but for how many you get, it saves you money over a regular detergent. You have to let me know. But those are really neat. I think those are really cool.
Karen says, I guess I'll be buying some new things next month with all the ideas you're showing us.
Carrie says, I have several, and yes, they are wonderful. And Diane is, hi from New York. I use mats and I love it. Well, I guess I need to jump on the bandwagon and get some silicone baking mats. So
Tara says, I feel like the baking mats don't get things as crispy like your chicken nuggets and such.
And Pete says, my dream is the wringer washer with a gas motor around it. My wife, not so much. Oh, we've been through this conversation.
Yeah, we've talked. It's kind of funny when it comes to off-grid living. I feel like, anyway, if you divide the home up into like outside chores and inside chores, it affects inside chores more than anything when it comes to off-grid.
It does.
Things.
It affects the traditional women's work, you know.
Because outside,
everything is harder.
Yeah.
Everything is harder.
Outside chores,
back-breaking.
I get if you felt like you still had to like pump water with a pump, it would affect you. But if you had a way to get some running water, there's quite a few ways around that off-grid wise. But inside, unless you just have like some massive solar or something like that, it changes what you have to do inside a home a lot.
So anyway, the wringer washer, we really considered getting one
did.
for a long time, and the only reason we didn't is I was worried about having a wringer around the children.
Yeah.
That really made me nervous. But they're big, and
they do a good
they
job,
wash a lot of laundry, and they use a lot of water, which sounds counterintuitive when we're talking about sustainability. Like, why do you want to waste water? It's not wasting, it's making sure things get clean and sanitary. Like, you just need water to clean things. It's just how it works. So they are pretty cool. And I know a lot of off-grid channels, they use the washer is the one like piece of equipment that they're like, we had to have that, you know. So they get the wringer washer, which, you know, runs off of gas, or can you run them off of like propane or something like that? The gas.
Maybe.
Because doing laundry by hand is, nobody wants to do that. So, so Tracy says, for smell good fabric softener, you can use vinegar with some essential oil. Clothes don't smell like vinegar when dry. That's good to know. Thank you.
Becky says, I love my silicone mat.
Worth
the money. And Debbie says, my reusable baking mats are great, but they stain, but you can still use them, and they're great to put under cutting boards to keep them from slipping around.
That's cool. Yeah, the kids have these little kid cutting boards, and they slide, and I'm always like, well, that's like so dangerous. They're going to cut their fingers off. Maybe I need to get some just to do that. So, okay, so a couple other random things we have. So, for Christmas, Sam's mom got us a Keurig coffee maker, which has been my joy every morning.
Yep, you like it.
So we have a percolator, which we use, a stovetop percolator. Excuse me. And it saves a lot of money because it uses less grounds and it doesn't use filters. You basically just put coffee in it, which is great. But a lot of days you don't need a whole pot of coffee for two of us, right? Well, maybe you do these days.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just want one cup. But those K-cups are really expensive. And like I was at Sam's Club yesterday and I was telling Sam, I was like, it was $50 for a box of K-cups. And I was like, I just know.
That's ridiculous.
So not doing that. I mean, I could almost go buy a coffee, like from a coffee shop for the cost of that K-cup, each one. So we have reusable, I'm sure a lot of you have these, but I really like this brand, which I linked below. We've had a different brand before, and I felt like the grounds always leaked through. This one, there's no grounds in our coffee. And the package comes with 4, so you can make several before you have to like wash them. But this allows us to have a single cup without having any waste and without having to spend all that money on the disposable cups. So let's see here. Beth says, use plain white vinegar as a rinse aid in my washer as well as my dishwasher. Works great. Yes, vinegar is great if you have hard water or if you have a lot of water stains on your dishes too. Prep for Eternity says you can put a wet rag under a cutting board and it will help you. Oh, we may be trying this hack. We just worked on a video today. The girls were helping me. We made a bunch of like breakfast things to keep in the freezer to make life a little simpler and stay on our Whole Foods diet here. Man, those cutting boards. They were sliding and I was like, all right, mommy's gonna finish the cutting now.
Beth says we bought a stainless steel K-cup. Well, I bet that lasts a lot longer than
than these plastic ones. Tara says I have to use filters in my percolator. I get grounds in my coffee. What am I doing wrong?
We get grounds in our coffee.
I don't feel it. You feel like it? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't bother me.
A lot of it has to when you get down to the bottom of it. I mean, first few, maybe not, but we definitely do get some grounds with our percolator.
So, I don't know. It's never really bothered me.
I mean, we always buy like the cheapest one. It's not like a fancy percolator. I don't know if you bought a nicer one, if that would help. I don't know. Maybe we don't push the lid on tight enough, and then when it boils, it pops up a little bit. I don't know. Maybe the holes are too big. I'm not sure.
I think, some of it, you have to make sure too, because I've done this before, when you're loading it, because it has that hole in the middle where the stem goes through, if you get any grounds over the lips into that hole, they're going to be in your coffee. And I think that's where most of them comes from, because I'm lazy. It's early in the morning. I'm just like, just dumping it in there with a spoon. Like, you just have to be careful. So Iris says you can conserve water with a wringer washer. You wash and order all laundry in order. Yes, I've seen that before. So with a wringer washer, you don't have to change the water until you're done washing. So you can do multiple loads of dirty, take them all out and put them in a bucket. And then once all of your loads are dirty, you're done. Then you do a bunch of loads of rinse. And that way you're not having to change your water through every load. And so you're all right. If you do like a laundry day, instead of doing laundry all the time, you can actually save water with the wringer washer, which is pretty cool. So
Pete says nothing else matters unless you get your coffee setup dialed in. That's very true. Yeah, we've used a percolator for a long time, but we would make 12 cups of coffee at once. And I know you could fill it up halfway or whatever, but sometimes when you just need a quick cup of coffee, the K-cup thing or the Keurig works. So
Debbie says they have a bun coffee maker and they last a long time. That is so true. Our church has a bun coffee maker and I'm pretty sure it's older than we are. And and it brews a super fast cup of coffee. So it's incredible.
It's been going and going. It doesn't stop. I don't even know. I don't even think they've had to replace parts or anything on it. It just goes.
Yes, and vinegar cleans coffee pots. I use vinegar to clean out. We have really hard water. Vinegar cleans out the Keurig. Yep. So we just have a couple things. We've been chatting a long time. This is a good night. Thank you all for all of your comments. It makes time fly super fast. So much to talk about. So we did all the soap and the laundry detergent. Yep. So one that I'm always harping on is the canning, and just having a canning pantry set up. Somebody a long time ago here at the beginning of this chat mentioned about pantries today, and I think they're just not pantry planning today. I think part of it's because we live kind of a hectic, busy lifestyle, and tend to not plan very far ahead because
A lot of
there's
people
so
do
much
shopping
right,
every week.
for every week,
Yeah.
right? And I think another one is houses are not built with pantries anymore, and so people just don't look at a closet and say, wow, that looks really empty, because it's really small anyway. So you put a full thing in there and you're like, we're good, we don't need anything else. But canning is a great way to fill up your pantry and to take advantage of sale prices when things are on sale. So, grocery stores will always have really good sales on random things, trying to get you to come in the store. And then, of course, the meat prices or whatever is not on sale is going to hit you, and then your grocery bill is really high. But if every week you look at those sale prices, especially on produce or on meat, and you stock up and you can it, within a few weeks you've kind of built this reserve of sale priced items that are in your pantry ready to use. And then you're kind of like saving that price, freezing it in time. So, in 2 weeks, if you decide you want some chicken, and you go to, and chicken is super expensive that week at the store, like, you don't have to buy it. You already have it. You bought it when it was on sale. It's in your pantry. You'll buy the things that are reasonably priced to supplement what you're going to take out of your pantry, and you're not like stuck paying stupid high prices on whatever they've marked up that week.
Do you feel like one of the best times to buy is after holidays?
Yeah, after holidays.
Because stores always have an abundance of
Mm-hmm.
whatever that holiday kind of emphasizes, and you can get a lot of stuff really cheap after big holidays.
So like in the winter, especially your root vegetables, potatoes and carrots and things like that are really, they stock up for Christmas, and the store's like, what am I gonna do with 6,000 pounds of leftover
or
potatoes?
even sometimes like turkeys and hams.
Yep.
After holidays, they'll have them really cheap.
So cranberries, I always buy the cranberries after Thanksgiving and make
Fresh
cranberry
cranberry
sauce
sauce
to enjoy
is so
all
good.
year round.
Yeah.
So Tracy says, thanks for your encouragement. I have a ton of canned food, not scared of my canner anymore. With this inflation, I'm so happy I got food put up. Thank you so much. You're welcome. And I'll tell you, with canning, the first step is the hardest because everybody is scared. It seems intimidating. You're going to do fine. Just read the instructions carefully and follow them. And as long as you follow them, you're going to be okay. The rules are there to keep you safe. Checking your seals and things. And every canner is going to come with really good instructions. And if you buy a used canner, you can find all the manuals online. It's going to save you. It's a little bit of an investment right up front because you got to get the equipment. It's going to save you so much money in the long run. Because like I said, you'll be able to grab those sale prices and freeze them. Have a fully stocked pantry, whether you're in an emergency situation or whether just you don't feel like grocery shopping that week. Like, you don't have to worry about it because you're ahead of the game and it's okay. So
We've talked about that a lot, and we kind of compared it to the wood stove too. Like, once you get your order down, and you just follow that every single time, like you'll be good.
So
these are the steps I have to do. We just go through them, and then you're safe. You're good.
Yep. Tara says, I haven't canned, I will eventually, and you'll get there. So, and if you need any help, you know where to find me. I'm more than happy to help you. And Rachel and I too, our mutual friend, we've done canning days together before too. So it's always fun. We just did a big family canning. I had a whole bunch of family over and I taught them how to can, and we canned so much food, and it was just fun to do it together. And just, be in a community and just talking and working and having a busy day, and the kids all played, cousins all played. It was just, I don't know.
Yeah, we've
that
talked
feels
about
like
that.
that's how life's supposed to be, I feel like.
When it comes to doing work, it's always better when you have a friend or somebody to do it with. When you're doing it by yourself, you can still do it, but it won't be as enjoyable. It's nice to share work with people. It makes it go by faster.
So one thing, actually last thing, and I'm going to ask you guys for advice in one area I'm struggling to figure out how to cut the cost. The last one, if you have babies, I'm always a fan of the cloth diaper. This is the flour sack towel, which is the cheapest cloth diaper. So big. It's the original cloth diaper. You fold it up, put it on the baby. So I do not cloth diaper 100% of the time. I don't think it's go big or go home. I cloth diaper at home. And I cloth diaper if I'm taking them out of the house, but I'm still going to be in charge. Like, I'm not dropping them off at the nursery in church or something. I do not expect other people to know what to do with my cloth diapers. But just that, saves us so much money. Diapers are expensive, and, it's like they're like 10 cents a diaper. And how many, a kid goes through in a day. So, and I don't know. It's also...
That's another one of those extra work things. For some people,
it is.
it's like, man, that's a lot of extra work. I just don't think I can do it. But for others, they feel like they can kind of power through.
Let's see. Becky said, or let's see.
Debbie.
Debbie says, laundry soap I use lasts 2-3 years. It's Excelsior. It's liquid, and you do not use a lot. A little goes a long way.
Oh,
That's good to know.
Teaspoons. 2 teaspoons
It's
a load. Wow.
That is a little bit.
Becky says, be warned, y'all. Canning
It
is
is.
addictive.
It is.
Once you get started, you can't stop.
Canning adds a level of comfort, savings, and fulfillment. Such a blessing. I can't imagine life without it. You've inspired so many. Thank you.
I think that's the big thing you say.
Yeah, I always
One
say
thing that you've said afterwards, like when we get done to the winter and, you know, most of the canning is done and stuff, Laura always says like how fulfilling it feels to look at the pantry and you're like, look at all that work I did last year, and like you really enjoy that.
I say this in videos. Canning is something where you feel like you do the hard work and there is nothing your kids can do to undo that work. It's going to stay and look beautiful in my pantry, and nobody's gonna mess it up the second I get it all put together. So it's just like I can walk in there, I can be like, look at that, I did that. So
Tara says, yeah, I can't do the cloth diapers.
That's okay.
Admire you though.
Not for everybody. I bought all my cloth diapers used, saved a ton. Yes. You do not need to buy there's some really expensive like Bum Genius and Charlie Banana brand diapers. It's not, I've used them. They were fine, but they don't even last longer than 1, maybe 2 children. They wear out. It's not worth it. If you're gonna cloth diaper, especially if you're gonna cloth diaper more than 1 child, and you're wanting to do it for cost savings, not just sustainability, learn how to use a flour sack towel, learn how to use a pre-fold diaper. Those are the ones that are gonna last you forever. When you're done having diapers, they just become cleaning rags. I mean, they go and go and go, and they're cheap, cheap, cheap. So.
Tracy says, you just gave me an awesome idea. I've been wanting to prep diapers for my ministry. Flour sack towels. How awesome. Thank you tons.
You're welcome.
You've got videos on the flour sack towels.
There's videos linked below about how to fold them. You fold them differently depending on how heavy the baby is, because at some point, like, you need a different size. It's the same towel. It's kind of like origami. Fold it differently, but there's videos below showing how to do it.
The little ones.
How to do it for different folds depending on how big the baby is. Mrs. Peach says, can't believe I got here on time. I will have to go back and watch this. Love your channel and your beautiful family. Thank you very much. And thanks for stopping by.
What was your question?
Okay, my question, and Pete, if you're still here, he may be the man who knows this one. I am really shocked by how expensive chicken feed is, and we're trying to figure out if there's any ways we can cut. So we already feed the chicken scraps, and we feed all the birds the same thing. We buy an all flock feed, and it's not organic, correct?
No,
and
it's just regular.
It's just regular, but it's still.
What's the? I can't remember the brand. It's just the Orscheln.
Yeah. It's still like $22 a bag, right? And I feel like when we first started homesteading, $22 bought you like organic, non-GMO feed.
Well, I think part of the reason is because the ducks and the geese go through the feed a little bit more. They're a little heavy on the feed compared to just chickens.
I'm looking for any hacks. Maybe some people make their own feed or supplement feed with something else. We do throw them scraps. We've decided we don't want them free-ranged. We've done that before with chickens, and it's okay. When they're free range, you don't have to feed them as much, but it caused more problems than it solved, especially with the kids, because they poop all over the kids' stuff, which is a safety hazard, right?
And they poop right outside the
front door.
Like, but I think the issue is too, like if it were summer, you can kind of cut back on like the regular feed that you give them, because they'll get some more with the bugs and just things like that.
But coming into winter.
But in winter, especially with them being pinned up, like we are their only source of feed. There's not going to be anything, and just in winter in general is that way, for chickens or any kind of birds.
Let's see. Debbie says I've not canned, but I'm assuming it's rewarding a garden summer stockpile, right? And you can also freeze freezing stuff, especially Debbie. You used to have a generator to help protect your freezer if you were to lose power. Freezing is also a great way to put up extra food if you have the freezer space.
Carrie says, and the difference between home canned and store canned is huge. My son said the other day, "What is wrong with the green beans? They taste weird." I laughed, and my husband said they're store beans. Yeah, you get used to things being one way, and they can taste a lot different for sure.
Yeah, and also like when you can, you do it just the way you like it done. Like as far as the size and things like that.
Flavor, the style,
flavoring,
yeah.
it's how you like it, and I like that too. Iris Lee says, my family hates store canned fruit. We don't eat store canned fruit. It's so like syrupy, I guess. Sugary. I do buy fruit cups sometimes for the girls, but just ones that are packed in water, like the little disposable fruit cups, because it's just like syrup. Like, I might as well just give them Karo syrup and be like, drink this, because I feel like that's what it is.
Let's see. Prep says, we have the same problem with our free-range chicks, about to build a large chicken run. Hate to, but tired of stepping in the poo.
Yeah, amen.
Beth says, my father-in-law had a dedicated area for free-ranging his chickens, which helped contain the poo. And we've kind of had that before out in our field. It did help
a little bit.
I guess they weren't technically free-range, and it does help, but they still... Our farm is small enough that they would still come up to the house.
They figure out that you're the one that brings them food, and they see you out there. They're gonna come find you.
Allison says, all of a sudden mine are eating so much more. Do they eat more when it's colder? Yes, they do when it's colder. Because even if they're, I guess it depends like how small your coop is and how, tight you've got them pinned up. But in the summer, they can still find bugs and just things like that they're still going to be able to eat for the most part. But in the winter, yeah, they're going to eat more. They do that to stay warmer too. They'll eat a lot more in the winter. Let's see. Pete says, we've been experimenting with different things we can plant in the chicken yard they can eat. If my wife was here, I could tell you what those things are. We do buy GMO free as a compromise. Yeah. I'll find out what we planted and email you. Organic Pete. Feed is way too expensive. Yeah. And we've there are some places that have GMO free. I mean, honestly, our Tractor Supply in Orchland sell GMO, but it's a little expensive. And we have found places that sell it cheaper, especially if you buy it in bulk. But it's a drive. It's like a couple hours to get there.
Well, we lack bulk store. We lack tight bulk storage. We would just have rat problems or mice problems. See, Amy's here. Welcome.
That's another one of those things. Like, if you watch a lot of YouTube and stuff, a lot of people will tell you like organic is the way to go, and you have to do it. And man, I would love it if we could just feed organic feed, or if we could make our own feed for the chickens and stuff. But it's another one of those things.
It's just cost and time.
Yeah, it's just a compromise. We're like, and we have before done like just organic or just non-GMO, feed, but right now we just give them the plain old
cheapest stuff we can get right now.
Yeah, the plain old Tractor Supply or Orchland's brand feed.
Allison says we need a show about just chickens. That'd be a show you could talk a lot, and I'd sit here listen to you. He's the chicken expert.
Hello, Amy.
Welcome
from Pennsylvania.
Sally ferments corn and oats. Okay, feed layer.
We've done in the past
sprouted grains. Is that what it was?
Yeah, we had. I didn't sprout them, but I fermented them. We bought feed. It was non-GMO feed, and it was mostly whole feed. And I fermented that when we raised some butchering chickens a few years ago. And that's another one of those, that's a little harder, depending on your setup, it's a little harder to do in the winter to ferment it because it's got to sit in water. You don't want your water to freeze.
Right.
So if you have a garage that's a little warmer or something like that, it's easy to do. But for us, we'd have to do it like in here next to our wood stove. It can get a little smelly sometimes and such. But fermenting feed is great. We've done that before. It is a little extra work.
Let's see. Debbie says by the way, Sally, if you have a specific recipe that you use for fermenting corn and oats and have a minute, our email is listed in the description. Please send me an email because I would be interested in learning more about that. Debbie says my freezer is full and I have a chest freezer and an upright and 2 fridges with freezers. It sounds like you are well set up. Yeah. Good job. That's lots of space to store things.
Hello, Aunt Holly, tuning in. Family emergency. Well, I hope everybody's okay.
Beth says Off Grid with Doug and Stacy has a video about making their own feed. Okay, we will have to check that out. They're not too far from here. Sometimes we watch videos and people have products, especially like when they're making their own feed, and I'm like, I've never seen that product before. And then the people are in like California or something. You're like, well, that's probably why. But
I have seen, I don't know if it's a recent video with Doug and Stacy. I have seen some of their videos in the past, and a lot of their feed mixes work well if you just have a handful of animals. If you've got
Oh, because we've got, you mean because we've got chicken, ducks, and geese and all that?
no, I just mean like if you only have like 10 or 12 chickens, it can work. But if you have like 30 or more, it might get pretty expensive to try and buy some of their ingredients that they have.
Pete says we have movable fencing and move them around some to help give them new stuff to eat. So we do have movable fencing, Sam, don't we?
Yeah, but it pretty much stays up. We've done that. It works well for the chickens.
It does. The problem, we found that the problem was our land. There's only select areas where the movable fence sits in the ground well because our land is so hilly and rocky that
it works okay for the chickens. For the goats, we couldn't.
Yeah,
really get
it didn't
to
work for the goats.
Bonnie says, "Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up." That's right.
If you think about that, give us thumbs up. It does help us in the algorithm. So, all right. So
maybe we'll have to do some investigating on the chicken feed. Some more.
Yeah,
I have in the past.
I feel like right now we're like, it's like, ooh, there's my $15 dozen of eggs. I know it's not that bad, but
I think the geese and the ducks really pound the feed, especially the geese. Like they're still growing. They're just babies.
They need a lot of food.
They eat a lot of food. They go through it. We've got 4 geese right now. They crack me up. They have some personality, let me tell you. They're
smart.
Cute.
I forgot to tell you this the other day. So I usually am the one that feeds them in the morning, and I brought Isla in with me because she wanted to help me, and those geese did not appreciate her in there. I had to take her out of the fence, so they're okay with me in there, but stranger danger. So we're gonna have to watch that one. Don't need some kid getting knocked over by a goose. So
ducks spread so much of the food on the ground, frustrating. Yeah, there's ducks. Man, I love ducks for a lot of reasons compared to chickens. Like I feel like they're really, really hardy. They get bigger so much faster. So like when they're chicks,
they grow like 3 times as fast.
Or ducklings, yeah, they grow so fast they don't need a light. They do really well in the winter, but man, are they messy with both their water and their food.
And they dig holes in the ground with their beak.
Yeah, the ducks have some. I can see why chickens became more popular overall in America because they're not as messy as ducks. Duck poo is like. Chicken poo's nasty, duck poo's worse. But
you're ranking your animal poo?
Yeah, but ducks do have some positives, for sure. They can be, I feel like in the winter, when it comes to laying, they can be a little bit more hardy comparing to what kind of chickens you have and stuff sometimes. But yeah, they're messy, for sure.
All right, I think that's everything. I have my list here. I think we've done everything on the list. So we appreciate you all stopping by tonight and sharing everything with us. I've definitely learned some things from all of you. We always appreciate that. I feel like I always come back from videos with learning and stuff. So
Pete says, next year's experiment will be running the brooders with kerosene lamps instead of electric heat lamps. Got 2 going now for meat birds, and the meter is spinning hard. Yeah. I thought about that too, because... is it Joel Salatin uses I can't remember if they're propane, maybe they're propane and not kerosene, but he uses brooder lamps like that, and I've thought about that in the past when we were really thinking about going off grid, how we could still do that with little chicks and brooders. Say hi. Are you ready to say goodnight?
We're gonna say goodbye. I think we're all done chatting. You have to look at this.
You gotta look here. This is the camera right here. Tell everybody bye.
Thanks for joining us all. We will not be live next week because he will then have his site clinical.
Hopefully it doesn't get canceled again.
But we always try to post on Sunday. I'll let you guys know. So we'll see you all soon. Thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate all of you.
Have a good week. Take care.